Hello there, and welcome to video number 205. This one is on averages from a table or a frequency table. The keywords I've got for you are averages and frequency. The averages are the mean, the median, and the mode. They are different ways of finding the middle of something, a set of data, and the frequency is how much of something there is. Okay, so tables are used to store numerical data in an efficient way. Right, when you get lots of information at once, we can chuck it in a table and it tidies it all up, makes it all nice and neat. So you might need to organize the data into the table yourself. You might already get given it in the table, if you're lucky. Most of the time you do. Then once it's in the table, you can find the mode by looking for the category that has got the biggest number in the frequency column. So look down the frequency column, find the biggest number, go across to whatever the thing is about, and you'll have your answer. Nice and simple. The median is found by adding 1 to the total frequency and then dividing by 2, finding that value as you would add the frequencies up, and then going across to the other column and seeing what number that is. Okay. The mean, that is the one that is the thing that takes the longest and gives you the most marks on exam papers. The mean is found by multiplying the first column by the frequency, adding the total frequencies, and then dividing by the total number of things. Okay, I'll explain why that works in the examples. And then the range, which is not an average, which I've mentioned a number of times before, is just the biggest value take away the smallest value, right? Don't do it from the frequency column, do it from the first column, all right? Whatever the thing is about. So in the first question is about goals, you would do the biggest number of goals, take away the smallest number of goals, right? If you were able to. Now, question number 1 says that the table shows the number of goals scored by Brentford FC in the 46 games they played last season. What is the modal number of goals? So, as I said, this is a nice, easy, quick one for you to do. All you've got to do is look down this frequency column here, see that 24 stands out as being the biggest number, all right? And then you go across and say, look, it's 1 goal, right? In 24 games, Brentford scored 1 goal. This is what this means. 6 games, Brentford scored 0 goals, right? In 11 games, they scored 2 goals, and in 5 games, they scored 3 goals, and in no games, they scored 4 or more, right? So the maximum number of goals they scored in the season was 3, yeah? Now, so I don't know if this is true at all. I just made this information up, but there we go. So we found our modal number of goals. 24 is the highest number. You go across and say it's number 1 goal, all right? They did that 24 times. So that's the modal number of goals. I hope that makes sense. I've said it enough times now. So what is the median number of goals, right? Now this is where we add 1 to the total frequency. Well, we know the total frequency adds up to 46 because it tells us here, all right? So if we add 1 to that, we get 47, and then we divide by 2 and we get 23.5, okay? Which I can do on the calculator. Give us a second, just pause this. And there you go, magic. You do the 47 divide by 2, and you get 23.5, all right? So what we're looking for is the 23.5 value, right, in the frequency column, right? Where does that sit? Well, it doesn't sit in 0 goals because there's only 6 there, right? Then we add 24 on, okay? That gets us up to 30. So we're actually doing a cumulative frequency, right? We're just adding the frequencies as you go along. So that value, that 23.5 value, or 23.5 value, I don't know how you say it, right, lays in this category here, which is 1 goal. So the median number of goals is also 1, right? That's the quick way of doing this. Equally, you could, if you were so inclined, write down the number 0 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you could write down the number 1 24 times. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. But I can't be bothered, right? And then you would have to do that 11 2s, 5 3s, lay it all out. There's all your data, all right? And then cross off 1 from each side as you go and find the middle one. That's how you find the median, isn't it? Okay. So instead of us bothering to do that, which, you know, who's got time for that these days? What we do is we add 1, we divide by 2, and we find that value in the table. Okay, that's our quick way of doing it. That's where it definitely is. Now, in question number 2, this is the one that's going to get you the most marks. This is the one that you really do want to know how to do. Okay, calculate the mean number of goals scored. Okay, so in the table we've got we've got, like I said, it's the same data, in fact, right? We've got the 6 games in which they scored 0 goals, all right? Now, they still count as games, all right? So we know that this total adds up to 46. I hope it does anyway, because I did write these numbers in myself, and I'm not sure if I checked it. So I'm just going to check that those numbers in the frequency column add up to 46, and they do. Good. So we know that all of those add up to 46. We know that in 24 games they scored 1 goal, all right? So overall that's 24 goals so far, isn't it? Right? But in 11 games they scored 2 goals. So how many goals is that going to be in total? Well, that's going to be 22 goals. So what we do is this. We multiply the first column by the frequency. Okay? So the first column is 0 times 6. That's going to give us 0. I'm going to write this out here. 0 times 6 equals 0. All right? Don't get confused that something times by 0 is a different thing. Right? It's always 0. Anything times by 0 is 0. Then we do 1 times 24, which is going to give us 24. Right, so there's 24 goals so far, like I said. Then we've got 2 times 11. Right, so that's another 22 goals that were scored. And then we've got 3 times by 5, which is 15. So that's another 15 goals. What we do is we add up all of those numbers, right? Because this one was 0. So there's nothing to multiply there. Right, and we wouldn't be able to anyway because it says 4 or more. Right, so we've got 24, 22, and 15. Add them up. 24 plus 22 plus 15. Normally you'd see these on calculator papers. That equals 61. Right, and there's our grand total of all the number of goals that were scored over the season for Brentford. And then what we can do is divide by the number of games that they played. Right, now remember that was 46, or you can remember by adding up the frequency, depending on the context of your question. Right, you've got 61 divided by 46. That's our final step. And that is going to give us our answer of something small, but there you go, reasonable. 1.326, I'm going to say. I'm going to round it off to that. 1.326, because there was a 0 after there. Okay, now it might say in the question, round it to 1 decimal place, or 2 significant figures, or 3 or whatever, right? If it doesn't, let's round it off to an appropriate degree of accuracy. Contextually, right, you can't score 1.326 goals, right? It's not a possible thing to do, but mathematically, that is the mean average, right? That's the mean average. So don't round it to a whole number necessarily, unless you've shown exactly what the calculation is in your workings. All right, and I'm just going to say 1.3 goals. All right, and that's going to be the mean average number of goals scored per game, 1.3 goals a game. All right, and they do that in statistics in the world of football, don't they? You might have heard it before. Now, moving myself over for the third question. We'll just finish this off. And we've got Fran in part A that says set A has a higher range. Is she correct? Fairly easy thing to do to work this one out. We can work out the range of scores in this set of data here, because the score, whatever it's about, could be a dice. The score you get on a dice is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, isn't it? So set A, let's write down, we would do 6 minus 1, which is 5. Okay, and for set B, we would just do 6 take away 3. Okay, because that's the range of scores you could get on set B, which is 3. So which number is higher? Yeah, she's correct. There's our working. Fran is correct. Is she correct? Yeah, that's what we have to say, isn't it? Yes, and there's our working. All right, 5 is more than 3. We could write that down. 5 is more than 3. Now, in part B, this is a tricky thing. This is a really tricky thing. The mean average score is given to you in set B, and there's a missing number in the frequency column. All you have to do is work what we did in question 2 backwards, effectively, okay, because we've got the answer that we would have got if we were working it forwards, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this number, this unknown thing, a letter. I'm going to call it X, okay? I'm just going to write the letter X in there. So we can use that now, right? X plus, or 3 times X plus 4 times 4 plus 5 times 12 plus 6 times 14, right? We can do all of those multiplication things and then divide by the total frequency. So let's get our calculator back in, right? Now 3 times X, 3 times our unknown number, is going to be just 3x. Okay, we can't do anything else with that. We don't know what that unknown number is yet. We're going to add that to, and I'm just kind of combining I'm doing the combination of things here, because if you understand this, you can do it in this way that I'm showing you in this question. Here, so I'm going to do 4 times 4, obviously that is 16, so we'd add 16 to the 3x, and then we've got 60, and then we've got 6 times 14, which would be 60 plus 24, which is 84, right? And then all of that would divide by something. Let's find out what that something is. Whoops. I needed my calculator back in. So that's going to be the total frequency of x plus 4 plus 12 plus 14. So that's 18, 20, 30, x plus 30. Okay, and all of that is equal to 4.75. Right? Now, what we can do is we can create our equation to solve here. And I'm just running out of room to do this in, so I am going to just find out what 16 plus 60 plus 84 is. That's 160. So we've got 3x plus 160. I'll write it a bit smaller. Right, so we've got 3x plus the 160 over the x plus the, I forgot what it was, 30, I think, yeah, which is equal to 4.75, right? This is our total number of things divided by the total frequency, right? And then we're finding the average, the mean average score. So what we can do is we can multiply 4.75 by x and by 30, right? So I need my calculator for that, because 4.75 times by 30 is not something that I commonly do. So we're going to work that out to be 142.5. So what we've got then is 3x plus 160 is equal to 4.75x, because I'm multiplying the 4.75 by the x and I'm multiplying the 4.75 by the 30, it's 142.5. And what we've got is an equation with unknowns on both sides. Okay, so if we then took away the 3x from the 4.75x, we've got 1.75x. Okay, and then we took away the 142.5 from the 160. So 160 minus the last answer we had on the screen. So that gives us 35 over 2, 17.5. And then what we do is we divide by the 1.75, don't we? So that's going to be hopefully a whole number. 1.75 equals 10. So we get that number that is x, and that is our final answer. What number is missing in the frequency column? It is the number 10. Okay, now you could do it another way. You could kind of guess some numbers and see what works if you wanted to work it forwards. But this is a beautiful way of doing this question, isn't it? Right? You're using algebra, you're using your forming and solving equations knowledge to get that answer. Now that's definitely not a grade 4 question. That's more a grade 5 style question. But it could crop up on a foundation exam paper. It would be an amazing thing to be able to show that you can do at foundation level. And it's still a decent thing to show you can do at higher level as well, I think. All right, because it'd be very easy to get tripped up on doing that, working that skill backwards. All right, so there's the entire video. I hope it all makes sense to you. There's some tricky bits in there, but in essence, if you can do that sort of second question, you're winning on this particular topic. All right, thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves. Look after one another. Goodbye.